Hey everybody, welcome to Eternal Mooncast special program, Bishoujo Senshi Slumber Party. We're on the current Adventure of the React series of the Sailor Moon Deep Dub, and this will be the discussion portion of episodes 11 through 15.
Sailor Moon has a long and rich history, but have you seen everything? I'm Relia, and this is my friend Michi today. And we are lifelong Sailor Moon fans who dove headfirst in the fandom and have stayed there ever since. We love being part of the amazing fan community surrounding this genre defining series. If you've been watching with us and you want to jump to a particular episode, timestamps will be in the description. Now, we know some of you might not have seen the Deep Dub, and if you want to watch along with us and enjoy our reactions to the full episodes, join our Patreon and get in on the fun.
It's
And
free now.
that's right, it is free. You can actually subscribe for free. Our episodes for this season will be available free for you to try out and enjoy. So please do pop onto our Patreon. Enjoy reliving the nostalgia of the classic 90s series. We so love it. Link in the description below. So this week or this month we're gonna dive into discussing episodes 11 through 15 of the Deep Dub. I've watched these both in Japanese and English to be able to give a little bit more commentary about them. The Japanese episodes, if you're following along with that, are going to be episodes 14 to 18 this week. This week does not include any cut episodes. We're just ahead because we've got 3 previous cut episodes from the first 2 months of rewatch.
Yes, and we'll be summarizing each episode and talking about them and sharing our thoughts with you. We're excited to share our favorite moments, what we loved, and everything else in between. Join the chat. We love to have our chatters on our Twitch and, of course, in our Discord. And make sure to post in the comments on YouTube and let us know what you think about each episode, too. By the way, this is a monthly show. We do 5 episodes every month. And just so you know, these are just our personal opinions. We in no way represent the Toei Animation Company or any Sailor Moon intellectual property in any way.
Yeah, that's that we have no power whatsoever, no say in anything. We're just fans who believe that we should talk about our opinions with each other and that we should force you to listen to them.
We just love discussing the series so much, and we just are excited to hear other people's opinions too.
We do. I think for me, this is one of those things where like I always think to myself, like, I could discuss this series for hours, and we decided to just prove that we can, in fact, do that.
Yes.
Uh, hopefully other people also enjoy doing these kinds of deep dives episode by episode into a series like this. And if you do want to join our community, we do also have a Discord server that we are working on building up. We would love to be able to chat with somebody there, maybe make some friends, find out if you're going to conventions. We do conventions. Obviously, love to make more friends in this community. Always feel free to check out our Discord as well.
Yes. And we'll give our socials at the end if you ever want to talk to us individually. And otherwise, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, yeah, let's dive into it. So, what is the deep title for this episode?
11 is Match Point for Sailor Moon.
That is a great
I
title.
like it.
I love the deep titles. They're always very punny and cute. They're almost always that's something you only get from the deep dub because the Japanese titles are always that sort of double-barreled title. For example, the title of this episode is "A New Enemy Appears: Nephrite's Evil Crest." Always telling you 2 things, and neither of them is like punchy so much as they are does what it says on the tin kind of episode. So like a new enemy is going to appear in this one, and Nephrite is going to use his evil crest to happen. That is in many ways less descriptive, frankly, than some of the overly spoilery. Like last month, we had the one that it was like basically meeting at the airport, Jedi fucking dies. We were like, wow, I wonder what's going to happen in this episode.
Go
There's
figure.
always that. There's always the risk with the Japanese titles that the title is going to spoil you for exactly what happens in the episode.
I think that's one of the reasons I appreciate the deep titles more. Like they give you a snippet, but it's not like a clip note.
Yes, yes. They're fun and fitting, but they don't ruin what's going to happen going into the episode, and I do enjoy that. So for this episode, I will hit you with my usual summary. This is our first time meeting because Jedite has just died, and we are now meeting Beryl's next go-to general to get some stuff done for her, and it is Nephrite. Nephrite introduces himself really by distinguishing himself from Jedite by saying, like, Jedite's big mistake was that he targeted people just indiscriminately. He was just trying to get as much energy from as many people as possible. And so he's like, Jedi's mistake, very indiscriminate. I'm instead of trying to get as much energy from as many people, I'm going to get as much energy as possible from one person at a time. And I'm going to do this using astrology. He's going to tune into the constellations, and the constellations are going to tell him that he believes that every person has a moment in their life where their energy is at its peak. And he's going
Which
to
is
have this
yeah,
yeah, huge if true. Like this appears to be true because it's the method he uses, and it's okay. That makes sense. He's going to use astrology to tell him who's about to hit that peak of energy, and then he can target that person for neg exploitation. Let's say Zoisite then appears floating in the air, surrounded by in the Deek dub her, in the original Japanese his little like a light tornado of pink flower petals because zoisite is just extra at all times. Frankly, if I could fly and be surrounded by flower petals instead of just standing there, I too absolutely would. So
same.
I'm gonna give this to zoisite, but shows up just to be 100% that bitch as zoisite always is. Bless, we love it, and is just here to be like, okay, but maybe you're gonna suck at this though. We'll see how that plan goes. And Nephrite's fuck off.
Literally, let's go.
They are the most not friends. You would think based on Jedite's personality that he would have the most enemies because he's just
A little shit.
a little shit. And yet, no, it's apparently just Nephrite and Zoisite at loggerheads. Anyway, cut to the real world where no, let's not cut to the real world yet, because let's quickly discuss Nephrite's base of operations.
Oh
So
god.
Jedi didn't really have a base of operations. Jedi just floated in the void and did this, and there were like swirls that came out of his hand. Nephrite creates an
Cathedral?
entire invisible hidden forest just outside of Tokyo, and within that hidden forest is an abandoned mansion, and within that abandoned mansion is an elaborate abandoned church cathedral with stained glass windows everywhere. And that is where Nephrite hangs out and does all of his communing with the stars. So he goes into his beautiful abandoned cathedral in his imaginary woods. He communes with the stars and picks a different constellation every episode. And that constellation, I think the first one is Chiron the Archer. That constellation like tells him, "Oh, so and so will be at their peak." There's no actual voicing, as cool as that would be. He Nephrite tells us what's happening. And so for this episode, he's okay. It's going to be this girl, Rui Seanji. I don't remember what her deep name is because I didn't write it down. And so now we're going to start finding out who this person is. So cut to civilian identities where we are looking in on Molly and Serena hanging out together. And they're hanging out at the tennis courts off of their school where they are watching a girl who's very good play tennis. And Molly refers to this girl as her sister. Usagi's girl, excuse me, we have been close friends for how many years of our lives? And you've never told me you have a sister? And Molly's no, not we call ourselves sisters because 'cause we're so close, like, my mom and her mom are besties, which is a classic relationship type. I think many of us either have had that kind of a friends with the daughter or son of your parent's friend what relationship or someone who has. I definitely had friends when I was a kid that were like the kids of my mom's friends, and we were real close like that. And she's a really good tennis player. Molly's really, like, excited and proud for her. And suddenly Nephrite shows up. Now, Nephrite, in contrast to Jedi, has one disguise. His one disguise is that he is a super rich businessman who drives like
He loves insane
very
car.
expensive, insane car. It's his only disguise, but you know what? It works great for him. He shows up. He basically imbues her tennis racket with mega energy and then fucks off. And she's, "Oh my god, I'm getting so good at tennis," and then she starts becoming, like, obsessively focused on nothing but tennis, and, like, anyone who tries to talk to her or interfere with her, she's just like, "Get the fuck away from me," or "Play tennis with me," or nothing. And genuinely just abusing people around her. It's terrifying. and people are starting to get worried. Molly's like genuinely worried about her friend. She goes to Usagi about it. She's like crying. She's really upset and worried for her friend. She doesn't know something's happened, but her friend won't tell her. Usagi, meanwhile, is like instantly twigging. She's like suspecting that this is like the Negaverse. She's like, this sounds real messed up. This could be a Negaverse thing. But I already also told Molly that I was going to help her check it out because she was worried. I'm going to help her as a friend. But also, if it turns out to be a Negaverse thing and I solve it by myself, like, I might finally impress Luna and Ray and Ami and get them off my back. So she's investigating this. They go there. Yes, it turned there's a Yoma. The Yoma is basically Guile from Street Fighter in drag. Sailor Moon is fighting the Yoma, gets turned into a giant tennis ball. This is an iconic moment.
It's so iconic. That is one of my favorite. Let me share the image. It's
Yes, like it is. This is peak Sailor Moon. This is like
it's
a
just,
moment.
you have reached peak fiction when somebody writes evil tennis racket and plays it totally straight.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. Sailor Moon's trying to dodge while being a tennis ball. Tuxedo Mask appears, does this extending cane attack that he's never done before. And I don't know if he ever does it again since. He should. It's much better than his Rose Throw, but he teams up with Sailor Moon. She eventually defeats the Yoma. Everyone else shows up just in time to be like backhandedly impressed. Like she genuinely did a great job. And of course, Luna and Ray are like, wow, I can't believe she did something all on her own. Who'd have thought? Typical Luna say something nice to Usagi challenge once again failed. Yep. And Rui gets turned back to normal. She and Molly are bonding. It's very sweet. That's the episode.
And her name was Katie Sanders. I just
Katie
learned.
Sanders. Thank
It-
you. So
It's so
let's talk about this one.
I think it's actually a really great character building episode for Molly.
This is a strong recommend for me. Like we've talked before about what are our episodes that if you're not going to watch every episode in this series, if we had to cut the series down to the stronger or more interesting or more vital episodes, which ones of these ones that feel almost like filler are the ones that we recommend you to watch? This is a strong one for me because I think this one is a really great personal story and personal characterizing moment for Molly, who is undoubtedly, I would say, in season one, the most central and most major non powered character.
I agree.
I
Yeah, Molly's
God,
integral, I think, to the first season.
absolutely. And I think clearly her biggest feature is going to be in this Nephrite arc.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's nice to see that even in an episode where her interaction is not with Nephrite. Like he's there in one scene, she notices. She, like everyone else, is oh, he's such a famous rich CEO, handsome man.
Which I'm like, you guys don't even
But
have TikTok. How did you find out so
I
quick?
don't know. No one ever knows how someone knows that through this man who never existed before is a rich CEO, but apparently he is. But no, she's not the focus in this episode. There's no connection between Molly and Nephrite here. It just is an episode that really focuses on Molly in and of herself as a person. She gets a lot of really personal moments, and it's frankly fantastic for her, and therefore is also fantastic as a characterization episode for Serena.
Yes.
So, yeah, so this is one where you get really good scenes of Molly giving us this insight into her backstory with Katie and them growing up together. There's really, really cute, brief animated flashbacks of the two of them as like little baby girls hanging out together, and Molly's getting bullied and Katie like scares off the enemies. And it's very sweet to see this idea that Molly has this full life that we don't otherwise see. And her degree of worry about her friends is this very gentle scene of Molly and Serena having tea together in, I think it's probably Molly's room because it doesn't look like it's Serena's room.
Yeah.
And Molly is just, she's worried about her friend Katie and she's like in tears because Katie is being scary as hell. And all Molly can think is, I'm so worried that something happened to her and she can't even tell me about it. And I don't know what to do. She's not acting like herself. I'm really worried about her. And Serena just is a really amazing friend to her. She's, of course, you're worried about her. let's go check on her. Let's see if she's okay. We're going to figure this out together. Like, it is one of the first moments where you really see the Sailor Moon and the Serena and the Usagi that she's going to ultimately be in by the end of the series, but also even by the end of the first season. This is, and I think it makes sense that the first moment where we're seeing this is in her interaction with Molly and not in her interaction with any of the powered characters because the power dynamic is very different between them.
Yes.
Molly is her friend who isn't judging her negatively, isn't seeing her as needing to live up to something more than she is. Like, I think with her powered friends, even with Amy, who's the only one that's nice to her, there's this expectation that they all wish that she would apply herself more and be more focused on her responsibility as a sailor soldier and saving the world and things like that. But to Molly, this is just her friend who she's reaching out to for help. And I think it makes sense that she really rises to the occasion when she's with someone who primarily needs her to be a friend to them, and she is able to be her best self even this early on in the series because she's with someone who believes that she's capable of being her best self, someone who doesn't talk down to her. It's I think it's really nice that Molly gets to be the one who brings that out of her, and I think that because I think with this series, I often wish more that as the series progressed, the civilian relationships wouldn't fall into the background as much as they do.
Mhm.
We after season 1, we frankly won't see Molly very much.
Mhm.
And that's a shame. There's no reason that needs to be, and it makes you feel like Molly has been forgotten as her friend because Molly's not involved with her powered life and she's been cut out of the loop. It doesn't feel like that's how it really would be. And so it's a shame that for the sake of presenting what's most interesting and central to the story, Molly becomes a non feature after season 1. But it's nice, at least in season 1, to see this and to see Serena's civilian relationships still being important.
Yeah. No, it is true because by the end, you really don't see her.
Yeah, by the end, I think there's this very interesting by the time you get to Stars, how narratively distanced she's become from even her parents.
Yeah.
Or you don't even see her brother, frankly, after a certain point. But even her final interactions with Kenji Pop and with Ikuko Mama are there's something very sad about how much distance there is from her connection with her parents. And so I think that that's always been I've always thought that's a shame. And again, a lot of that I think with the manga is because it moves at just an incredibly fast pace. But yeah, I think it's an interesting thing to when you then look back on the early series in retrospect to be able to see all the things that were more prominent in these early parts of the story that eventually, by the time we get to Stars, really don't show up anymore.
Had
Yeah. Yeah.
some fun trivia from this episode from Sailor Moon Wiki.
Yeah.
This episode is featured, I can read. This episode featured the first time an individual was specifically targeted by an enemy, though it became formula for the majority of the episode.
Yeah, it's funny because I think that Nephrite was like, this is my totally different strat where I'm going to target just one person because Jedi just targeted everybody. And then after that, most villains will target just one person. And I think some of that is obviously because on the narrative end, as far as you're telling a story for an episode, you want the story to have like a driving thrust to it. It's more interesting to have to show someone who's specifically being affected by it, so it makes sense that they every time they do filler episodes, it's always there's sort of one single target, but it does take the luster away from Nephrite's unique thing of being like, "What if I target just one specific person and then every villain after that is, yeah, I'm gonna target one specific person." It's not we will see when you get to things like the Ayakashi sisters and things like that, where they're like, "Our newest scheme is dark fruit." And it's this very moldy looking fruit that we're selling in a grocery store and people are going wild for it. And that obviously they're targeting mass collection there. That one will forever live in my mind because who in their right mind would have purchased this and eaten it? But yeah, so there will still be times where we will see more mass targeting, but yeah, that's very interesting that they noted that this was the first time it happens, but it will go on to happen all the time.
Yeah, and then this is the last time that Reno Romano voiced Darian.
Farewell.
Goodbye. Thank you,
I mean,
Reno. You were
yeah, that
fantastic.
you did a great job. You had to voice some of the most unpleasant Darien that we encounter because he is at his worst in season 1, but that's not your fault. You delivered the lines as written, and you did a great job.
Yeah, honestly, like 10 out of 10. You did
Mhm.
great.
Yep.
This is also where the opening, where Usagi introduces herself, changes to include introductions of Ami and Ray as well.
That she starts to be like, "This is my friend Ami, the kind super genius who's created everything, and this is my friend Ray, the hot-headed psychic. They seem to have it way better together than I do, but I'll just have to do my best," which is very cute of her. Um,
It is adorable.
and does tell you these are the personality traits of these 2 characters.
I know.
Who's nice, hot-headed with psychic powers. There you go.
But I do think this episode, I think everybody mostly remembers because of the tennis ball.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think people remember it because of the, like, poignant sweet story between Molly and her, like, super
Pseudo
close pseudo sister. They remember it because Sailor Moon turned into a giant tennis ball.
And then just
Iconic.
to point out though, the animation on this episode was crispy.
Oh,
Like,
oh, it's
so good.
fantastic. It's
It's
fantastic. They got the good animation for this episode.
like that fire. And then this is probably my favorite.
Yeah, there was genuinely this was some really beautiful animation in this episode. Sometimes, for whatever reason, some episodes just get the good team, and this was definitely one, and I'm glad for them because, like I said, I think I really enjoy this episode. Hi, Naboo.
Sorry, guys. The boo wants to be part of the stream.
Naboo is standing in for our 3rd co-host this week. You got it, Naboo. You are so
Okay.
right. Too right, Naboo. So in the Japanese, one interesting moment is when Sailor Moon is fighting the Yoma as a tennis ball and is just getting knocked around, bouncing everywhere as a tennis ball. Tuxedo Mask shows up, extends his cane in an extended cane attack, which is very cool. The Yoma is, "Ha, now you're going to get the same treatment that she got." And Tuxedo Mask goes, "All right, that looks like a lot of fun." And I was like, that's the most fun thing he's ever said, is just looking at her bouncing around in tennis ball and be like, "That looks fun, actually."
Not gonna lie, agree with him.
Like, he's not wrong. It does look like, would I probably get motion sick? Yes. Yeah, 100%. But also, does it look fun? Yes.
It's like that what is it, intrusive thought where that does actually look like fun.
Yes. I bet you he was watching for 30 seconds before he jumped in and he was like, I'm assessing the situation, but really he was watching it in fascination, just being like, "Oh, that kind of looks fun."
I love it.
That's my theory.
But I do think it's a strong episode. I definitely think somebody had a story they wanted to tell with this episode.
Yeah, this one felt like they had an actual idea. I
And
think it's
some
nice that's the first episode for a new villain because obviously you want the first episode to be a strong one. You don't want to start in with like kind of a clunker and be like, "Oh yeah, and then Nephrit was here." Okay.
oh wow. I just found all the international titles for this episode on the Sailor Moon Wiki.
Mhm.
There is no consistency between any of them. Like
Every single person went their own way.
y'all, you guys gotta hear this. Okay. So Brazilian Portuguese, a powerful enemy has arrived, Nephrite. Your European Portuguese, Nephrite is new and evil and powerful. Oh, sorry. No, wait, I misread that. Sorry, that
Oh
was
my
my bad.
god. Oh no, I love it. Go ahead. Say it again.
Nephrite is new and powerful enemy.
Not as
You're
good as Nephrite is new and evil and powerful, which is just fantastic, but Nephrite is new and powerful enemy, also fine.
so good. And then European Spanish, a new and very powerful foe.
Okay.
And then the French got 2 titles
Uh-huh.
on TV. It's called The New Friend. I have no idea.
That's an interesting choice.
I'm like, who's friends?
Is
And then
Nephrite the new friend? Is Katie, who's the old friend, a new friend? I don't know. Weird.
I don't know. And then in the DVD, they changed it, and it's a new enemy, Nephrite's evil coat of arms.
That's definitely them just trying to do the straightest translation of the Japanese title, which is "A New Enemy Appears, Nephite's Evil Crest." But I hope they also were looking at their original TV airing title and they went, "That doesn't really fit. Who's the new friend?"
But wait, the Germans are the best.
Ooh, alright, hit me German.
Because by the way, if you guys have never gone down the rabbit hole of German Sailor Moon, highly recommend, especially check out their musical team that they put up, the Super Moonies. 10 out of 10. Great read. Highly recommend. But the German title for this episode was The Tennis Crack. I
Oh,
don't know why. I
okay.
love it. 10 out of
Love it.
10.
Love it. Love it. No notes.
Sorry, that was my deep dive into
I love
silliness.
that. Not one note.
That one note. No, I'm like, I don't know why. German Sailor Moon just hit McDonald's Sprite to me.
Just different.
Definitely. All right. Anything else about this episode that we want to?
I don't think I don't think I had anything else. I think I talked about Nephrite in his human disguise jumping over a 12-foot fence while he had his hands in his pockets and everyone just going with it. No civilian questioned this rich man in his business suit casually hopping over a 12-foot fence.
Yes. And we hands in. That was like a yeah.
Could not be, obviously, but no one has questioned. No one questioned this. Every
No.
civilian was just like, "Oh yeah, rich people do that all the time, I guess."
Also, just thank you to whoever named him Maxfield Stanton. Just
Yes,
10 out of
Maxfield
10. Thank
Stanton,
you.
just fantastic.
Love it. All right. Next episode.
Yeah. So why don't you hit us with the deep title for the next episode?
An unnatural phenomenon.
Interesting. I guess they were like, we don't really. I think this episode's a little bit of a clunker, so I feel like they were struggling. But the Japanese title of this is Usagi's Panic, Rei's First Date, which is what they've chosen to focus on. This is like a kind of weird one. So the girls are hanging out in this beautiful garden park. Like it's a park, but it's a little bit more tended than you would think of a park as being. There's more flowers on feature than your typical American park would be. It's looks more like they're in a botanical garden, frankly. And they're like, "Wow, this is so beautiful. It's so wonderful here." And they are chatting with this old man that maybe is a gardener that works in the park or maybe just for free for his own edification. He tends to the gardens there, and he's telling them that, "Oh, but actually the garden's being demolished right now." And then jump cut over to a shot of literally bulldozers who are actively bulldozing parts of the garden as we speak, which apparently they did not choose to close the rest of the garden.
Now, those kids could have got hurt.
Yeah, you would think once they start bulldozing, the whole thing is closed, but apparently not. But the old man is really sad about it because he likes the park. And Ray is just, oh no, if this beautiful park is going to be torn down soon, I need to have a date here before it gets torn down, stat, because she has her own priorities. Then, for absolutely no reason, Luna nearly gets isekai'd. She's just running across the street and a truck almost runs her over, but Darien grabs her out of the way and rescues her. This is the first appearance, I believe it's the first appearance of Mamoru's iconic jogging suit. The jogging suit. Yep, that's the one. There he is, saving her from Truck-kun.
All 3 layers in his joggings.
Yep, yep. There he goes. There was really no point to that scene. Just was in there. Meanwhile, Nephrite picks his next victim. This time the stars tell him, go after the gardener guy. And he's like, yeah, okay. Approaches the gardener guy. It's a shame that they're tearing down this park. You should do something about it. And then like imbues his hat or something with nega energy and leaves. Meanwhile, Ray is like grilling Andrew for every bit of information she can get about Darian. She's like, this guy is so hot. I want to be on a date with him. Tell me everything about him. What does he do? Where does he go? What is he like? Yada yada. And then she conspires that I need to get this man to go on a date with me to that park before it gets torn down.
Mhm.
She arranges a meet cute with Darian where she's gonna come around a corner just as he's coming around the corner and run into him and stumble against his chest, and he'll catch her and he'll be like, "Oh, maiden, are you okay?" And she'll be like, "Oh, yes, I'm okay, but I feel a little faint. Hold me." And he'll be like, "Of course I will, you beautiful princess." And she'll be like, "Oh, can we go sit down in a cafe and have some coffee?" And he'll be like, "Yes, I will take you there. I would love to take you anywhere." And it'll be super romantic. And that is, of course, her fantasy. What in fact happens is she comes out from around the corner, trips on the sidewalk, face plants on the sidewalk, and he's not looking and he steps on her head and then, "Are you okay?" She's, "Yes, it's not your fault." And he's like, "I know it wasn't my fault." And he, like, keeps walking. Like, he's just a dick. He's just absolutely a dick. She manages to stop him anyway. She gets him to, like she eventually cajoles him basically into going for coffee with her, and he ultimately agrees, but very much not romantically or enthusiastically.
But if I remember, that conversation made no sense because I'm busy on my way to
Yeah,
somewhere. It's just
yes.
like coffee.
Yeah, he was like, "Sorry, I'm busy on my way to somewhere." And she's like, "What about?" Because she asked him on a date, basically, and he was like, "I can't do that. I'm busy." And she was like, "What about just a quick coffee?" And he was like, "Yeah, okay." This is not a quick coffee that they go on. They are in a full sit down diner date, like hanging out. This is if he was like busy meeting with someone, that someone is going to be very unhappy. Serena is stalking them, doesn't like that this is happening. And she's like, "How am I going to sneak in there?" She is on the verge of like, using her transformation pen to turn herself into a waitress so she can like spy on them. But then Melvin shows up and she's, "Oh, Melvin, have you got money?" And he's, "Yeah, I've got money. Let's go." And then they end up on a date, but she doesn't think it's a date, but he very clearly thinks it's a date. And he's, "Wow, I've always wanted to go on a date with you, Serena. This is neat. I hope people enjoy my Melvin voice. It's bad." But so there she's like stalking Ray. Ray then asks Darian to go to the park with her on a park date. Maybe the same day, maybe he's just completely blown off his friends by this point. Maybe it's a different day. I don't remember. Meanwhile, Amy is sad because the park manager has started being like mean to short with her and lean with other people. Meanwhile, evil squirrels have started attacking people. So yeah, the episode just takes a hard left turn into evil squirrels attacking people. If you had any fear of squirrels before, don't watch this episode. It's unclear because like a lot of times the person themselves is the one like acting out the evil, or they have an object that's been cursed that is doing harm. But in this one, just evil squirrels. And I don't know if the Yoma is causing the squirrels to become evil through the guy in some way. Very unclear how the evil squirrels have come about, but they're obviously connected to this and they're evil squirrels. So yeah, this was not the most thought went into this episode.
Now it's interesting because technically this has been a big episode because this is the first time that Hawks and portrays Serena and Toby Proctor portrays Darian.
Yeah. And it's the first this is the start of the dating arc with Ray and Darian. This should be a rather relevant episode, but frankly, the entire Yoma plot is the B plot in the
Yeah.
episode. Darian and Ray are on a boat ride together. Usagi continues to stalk them. The squirrel attacks get worse. They transform. They fight the Yoma. They win. Hooray, the end. I don't even know if we ever find out that the park was saved in any way. I think maybe
It
it's
was.
demolished. I
It was.
literally think it just still gets demolished.
I know. I think it's like the end of
That
the
is how
day.
that is how irrelevant the magical plotline is in this episode. It's there's not a lot of this could have been a perfect good episode of, oh, Ami has this connection to this guy, she's worried about him, blah blah blah. But it was given so little focus in this episode that there is nothing that I feel like I can draw out of it that felt satisfying. It was just
See, here's the hard part. Because do we recommend this episode because it is an important episode to the plot line? Because in the Ray dating Mamo arc is only in the 90s anime.
right. Yeah. It's one of the distinctions of the 90s anime in that sense it's relevant. I do think there's a certain amount of relevancy in the idea that you discover that they only originally start dating because Darian just was like, "Yeah, all right, whatever," about it, which is very telling. I don't know that's necessarily desirable characterization for him because it's not this is meant to be our male love interest. Like, we're supposed to presumably like this guy, and showing him not painted in a very great light, I don't necessarily think is a great choice, but that
Is
they
this not even help someone who tripped? That's as human decency
it just this is Ray has never been mean to him. She's only been nice to him. She quite likes him. And she tripped and he fucking stepped on her head. And he was just like, I know it's not my fault. Peace. It just, frankly, he is a very bad person in the early 90s anime. Just very bad.
It's and I know it's a miracle romance, but I'm like, he's a miracle dick. Like,
Yep. For me, the most interesting part distinction in specifically the Japanese version. And this one was very interesting is first of all, this is the episode where we find out specifically that Mamoru is in college because Motoki is telling Ray, "Oh yeah, we go to the same prestigious college together. He's really smart." And she's, "Oh, wow, he's in college. That must be so hard." And Usagi, meanwhile, is like, "He's in fucking college?" So when Ray's doing her meet cute with them and Usagi is stalking, she's watching them and she says specifically, "He can't date Ray. He's too old for her." Luna says, "What are you talking about?" And Usagi says, word for word, she says, "It's an inappropriate relationship. My student handbook even says so." Which is hilarious. Literally in the episode, she's saying, "This is an inappropriate age gap and he shouldn't be dating her."
girl, look in the damn mirror.
When that shoe drops. But I also think it's funny that they chose to have it be that way for the show. They specifically aged him up for the show, and yet they were very aware, clearly, that this was not a normal age gap and would not have been recommended socially within their society.
So it's why is a
Yeah, I don't know.
college kid more mysterious than a high schooler?
I don't know. Why did he need to be a college kid? Did they think that I don't know what Japan's what Japan's laws are about emancipation of minors and when you can be financially independent and have things like your own apartment and things like that. We see with both with Mamoru and with Makoto that they both are 'cause Makoto's an orphan, right?
And
Yeah.
so scary.
Yeah, they're both orphans and they both live independently because every all the main characters are rich in this. Mako is no exception. And they both live independently in their own apartments. Now, obviously, Mako can't be aged up into a different grade because she's literally going to be in Usagi's class. But I wonder if when they were making the anime, they were like, he's not old enough to have his own apartment. Make him in college or something like that.
Oh, that could make sense.
Uh, I don't know. It seems weird that they would be so hung up on realism.
Right.
But I can't think of any other reason why they would have chosen to age him up needlessly and in a way that makes everything worse.
Yeah, because Andy's in college with him, right?
Yeah, they're apparently go to the same college.
It's it's such a weird choice. And yet they left that in the deep dub, and yet the lesbians were too far.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Profound age gap between an adult and a minor. Fine. Lesbians, they're cousins. It's much better.
Cousins! Make it
Mhm.
incestuous.
Mhm, they sure
Alright.
did.
But
So,
that'll be our season 3 rant.
yep. So yeah, that's I would say that was the most notable point specifically from the Japanese subtitled version of this episode that I thought was the most interesting.
Would you recommend this one?
No, no, I
No.
thought this one was a huge clunker. Just know that Darian and Ray start dating for crappy reasons. And
Yeah,
skip the
that's your
episode.
explanation. Though, I will say, I do like the fashion in this episode.
Yeah, oh,
That's my one, like, but the fashion.
it is a lot of both obviously Takeuchi, as you have done panels on, a huge fan of high fashion. And so the girls in the manga and therefore also in the anime are incredibly fashionable. And I think a thing that's interesting at this moment in time is that a lot of the fashions that they wore when this anime was translated for Canada and the US and when it finally premiered, these are not fashions that were fashionable in our region and at that time. Like, at the time when I was watching the show, I remember thinking how goofy some of these outfits were, not just Mamo's, but, like, some of the girls' outfits. Ami frequently dresses like she is interviewing for a secretary job in the 1970s. But a
So
lot of these fashions have come back around in the modern moment. A lot of the silhouettes that they are wearing are ones that would be very fashionable now. And I think it's interesting the way that has come full circle with a lot of the clothes.
I like it a lot.
So that was that episode. Don't recommend. Don't watch it.
Now, honestly, if you really want to know more about it, besides what we've talked about, read the Salem Wiki. Like,
Yeah.
save yourself.
Yeah. It's not I don't think it's the better use of your time versus some of the other episodes.
Like the next one, because I absolutely adore the next one.
This one I think is super cute. So yeah, let's talk about this one. Hit us with the English title.
Wedding Day Blues.
Wedding Day Blues is a great episode.
I'm sorry, that's an
Title. That's
OPI.
so good.
It's an OPI nail polish color waiting to
Oh,
happen.
100%, 100%. And I would wear Wedding Day Blues because I can picture exactly the color that's going to be. And I'm like, all right, it's a white with a sort of a blue frost tone to it. And it's definitely got like iridescent sparkle within. Like it's an iridescent pearl white with a blue undertone. And I would absolutely wear it.
All right, doesn't look like they made it, but OPI, we suggest that name.
OPI, get on it. Wedding Day Blues. I've told you exactly what color needs to look like. Easy as. In Japanese, this is called A Girl's Dream. Usagi becomes a bride. Guess what's going to happen in this episode? All right, here I will hit you with our extended summary. So, in this episode, first, Serena's sitting in class. They're in their home ec class. This is one of the few times that we see them having a teacher other than Miss Haruna, Miss Homeroom. And they're all bored. Their home ec teacher is like being very moony. She's trying to teach, but she keeps being like, and Melvin reveals to the girls that she's being all moony because actually she's engaged. She's 34 and her dream was to get married and sew her own wedding dress. She's really excited about it. And he's a software engineer and it's really neat. And so what we've learned about their home ec teacher is that she is engaged. She's super excited about it. We find out that she's engaged to her husband who is 100% a short king. He's very teeny tiny and he is like wearing his little suit and he brings her flowers that are about as big as he is and he just head over heels loves her, wants to marry her and she head over heels loves him. Like
It's
they are
so cute.
just super cute, super happy together. Like
Couple
it's
goals.
precious. They are couple goals. I love it. But she's very like I already know Shaka Miss Harness. She's already know exactly what dress I want to make. I just have to pick out the fabric. All of the silks are just really expensive and I'm nervous about it. And Miss Harness, you have to do it. You have to make this dress and get married because Miss Harness is like very every episode she's just very like lonely and horny. Like she wants to be married 5 years ago. And so she's living through her friend right now. But Freud obviously picks Miss Homek as his next victim. Suddenly, there's a wedding dress contest, and the winner of the wedding dress contest will get a free wedding at the venue that is hosting the contest. And the wedding doesn't even have to be now. It can be like whenever you get married. If you get married 5 years ago, you get 5 years from now, cash in your free wedding.
I thought it was a trip to
So
Hawaii.
is it a trip to Hawaii in the deep version? Yeah, I think you're right, but I think it is specifically a destination wedding.
Yeah, no, I don't remember. I just remember it's a trip to Hawaii.
I know there's a trip to Hawaii involved in the Deke version, but I think it's still a destination wedding is what you
Okay.
get.
All right, sorry. I was just what?
Oh yeah, no problem. So anyway, obviously everyone wants to win the prize. Serena immediately is fantasizing about her wedding, which would of course be to both Andrew and Tuxedo Mask. We stan a Polly Queen. Every time she has a fantasy, it is Andrew and Tuxedo Mask, and I'm so sad that this obviously, once she gets together with Tuxedo Mask, that will no longer be a thing, but it's one of my favorite running things is her desire to just get both guys. I'm like, "Ugh, love that."
Like,
Look at her. Look at her go. I got 2 hands,
I got
but
two hands,
neither of
two
the men is,
heads.
"You get away, she's mine." They're both just, like, "Oh, yeah, we are her husbands."
Yeah, literally, it's just like it's so funny.
Love that for her, love that for her. We stand all day. Ray also wants to win the free wedding. She's trying to pretend like she's cooler about it. She's not. Ray does not. She doesn't have a mom. Her mom is pretty sure she's dead.
She did.
Um so she decides that she's gonna ask Serena's mom to teach her to sew. So she immediately invites herself over
Yep.
to Serena's house, and she's sitting down, like, they're chatting with Serena's mom, and she's like, "Oh, your house is so beautiful. It's so nice to hang out with you. You're such a beautiful mom. Oh, this cake is amazing. It's the best cake I've ever had. And I bet you're the kind of mom who's so great at sewing. And it's always been my dream to learn how to sew from a great sewing mom like you. Won't you teach me to sew? Like maybe with a wedding dress as a first project?" And Ikuko mama is just like, "Oh, you're so funny. I can't sew a lick." And so the next scene is just like Ray fuming outside Serena's house, being like, "How could you? How could you embarrass me like that by not telling me that your mom can't sew?" And Serena's like, "When did I have time to inform you of this? You invited yourself to my house and started a conversation with my mom." It's again nice to see Ray taking an L. I think so often in these early episodes, we see Serena taking so many L's, and while everyone else is just mean to her. And it's nice to see Ray get some of her own medicine there. Amy, meanwhile, is very asexual about all of this. Serena and Ray are both like, "Don't you? What about you, Amy? Aren't you going to enter the contest? Don't you probably can sew?" And blah, blah, blah. And Amy's like, "Rather focus on my studies. I think that is more important." And they're like, "Girl." And she's like, "I am asexual," which we love for her. Let's see. Nephrite imbues the dress fabric with his nega energy, but he's like talking with her and he like wraps himself in the silk and is like, "Haven't you always imagined yourself walking down the aisle in this beautiful silk?" And I'm like, "Have you imagined yourself walking down the aisle in that beautiful silk?
I mean,
You got very into this." And then, so after that, Miss Homek is no longer like answering her fiance's calls. Like he goes to her apartment, he's knocking on the door. When she finally answers, she's had a glow up into a super hot butch. It is it is a wow, wow. Yeah, you should check it out. And she's like, "I focus on my sewing. You're not good enough for me. No man is good enough for me. When I make this wedding dress, they'll fall at my feet. Get away from me, short man." And then he obviously is very distressed and is like, "You must be stressed," and he leaves.
it's a very sad scene.
It's very sad because he loves her so much. She's, like, obviously obsessed with the contest, wants to do nothing but make her dress. This is very typical of all of Nephrate's victims. They just become obsessed and really mean to anyone who talks to them. Luna and Amy are both like, "This is some Yoma shit. We should investigate." They both start investigating. Meanwhile, Ray is trying to steal the only bridal robes from her father's shrine, or her grandfather's shrine. Her grandfather's real mad about it.
Thought it was
And
curtains.
it might have okay, so they might have translated that into curtains for the Deke dub, but
But I appreciate
it is originally bridal robes. Serena is also trying to steal her mom's curtains from her bedroom, and she gets caught real fast, and she's very sad about it. So both of their efforts to participate in this contest have failed at every turn, which is hilarious. So all the girls get together to investigate because Luna and Amy are actually focusing on the fact that this is some weird shit. And they're like, "Serena, you're going to have to go undercover to investigate the contest. Use the disguise pen to give yourself a dress." And Usagi's like, "Okay." So she's like, "Transform me into a beautiful bride." And she does. And she's like, "Yes, I'm going to win this contest." And they're like, "That would be cheating." She enters the contest. Hot Butch Miss Homek comes down in the most fashion wedding dress, declares that no one is worthy of her. All men should like kneel and grovel before her, and all women should like kneel and weep at her beauty. And Ray and Amy appear out of nowhere, do their intros, transform, they fight the Yoma, they win. The wedding goes off without a hitch. Miss Homek marries her short king fiance. Amy catches the bouquet. So that's the summaries. That's what happens in the episode. Let's discuss.
It's a great episode. Just a great episode.
I love this one. They give you a little, they pick an NPC, let's call them an NPC. They give them a little vignette. They start a story, they end the story, feels cute and satisfying. It's people were on the right track. Negaverse fucked with their lives. We get them back on track by the end of the episode. It's but in a not in a rote way, in a sweet way. They give you enough to get invested in, and I think because the NPC plot is the A plot in the episode, there is no secondary plot that's not focused on what's happening, which I think works a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. And the trivia and Sailor Moon Wiki is saying that this episode shared some similarities with Act 5 of the
Oh,
manga.
interesting. We'll have to yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
we'll have to dig into the manga and figure out what Act 5 is to be able to see where the similarities were. Maybe when we go on break, I will dig out my manga and flip to Act 5 and see if I can find how similar
Yeah.
the storyline was.
Yeah, because we'll go to break after
Yeah,
this
that makes
episode.
sense. Yep.
I found it. The other thing, the other trivia is in Usagi's daydream, she was married to both Tuxedo Mask and
Mhm. I
Michi.
love that they also were like, note polyamory.
I know, I'm like, Sailor Moon, you go.
So this episode, and there will be another one of these. I think it might in fact be the next episode or the one right after it. This is an episode where, for no apparent reason, Amy and Ray give their heroic introduction speeches while they're still civilians. Like they hover down in their school uniforms on the set piece on the stage and they give their
The fuck?
dramatic, you shouldn't do this to girls. We're going to punish you, blah, blah, blah. And then just like transform. Yes, most of the people are passed out, but are you sure that everyone was passed out? And are you sure that
Everybody?
do you know for sure that Miss Homek isn't gonna remember what happened afterwards? Are you like strongly confident in those suppositions that you decided to just, if nothing else, that Jedi was a thing before? So even though you don't know that there's a Nephrite nail, they also don't know that Jedi's fucking dead, frankly. That they will never, theoretically, they will never know unless there's an episode where one of the other villains tells them. Jedi just suddenly stops being in their lives because they don't know that Beryl fucking sent him to the eternal sleep. What they know, he just is gone one day. It's hilarious to me. They don't know there's they probably still think it's Jedi behind this shit, frankly. And they, again, aren't concerned about him finding out their civilian identities again.
They're
I
14. They're
guess
not that
so. I guess
bright.
so. You would think Amy is supposed to be the smart one, but yeah, so this is one of the episodes where like they do whole heroic intros as people in school uniforms. I'm going to take you out. I'm a teenager who just left my high school classes.
It's
I didn't even get changed at home.
it's a it's just a strange thing to me because secret identity is such a big part of the show. And yet in these early episodes, they are fucking up
Mhm.
so many
It's
people.
funny because the secret identities are so central between the Sailor Senshi and Tuxedo Mask. Those secrets are so groundbreaking and important. And yet, at any time, imagine if Tuxedo Mask had just been hanging out in the back of the theater waiting to throw a rose, and he just sees Ray and Amy give these speeches and then transform. He'd be like, oh, okay, they're the Sailor Scouts. That's good to know. Uh,
Honestly, how did that not happen with the amount of
I
times that they did it?
no, they left it to fate, and fate ensured that no one ever saw them who shouldn't see them, apparently.
They got
Yep.
so damn lucky.
So yeah, that was I think one of the most notable things that I like made note of. But yeah, I like this episode. I think it's really cute. I think it's a fun Nephrite episode, a sweet NPC story. Is it the most central to the meta plot? No, it doesn't really move anything forward in the meta plot, but I think it's a good filler episode.
I think so too. It's one of those things where we talk about the difference between the manga and anime a lot. But one of the big things I think is the difference is these filler episodes because they give the characters
Yep.
the heart that we always
I
want.
think that the filler episodes, in so many ways, are so defining to the identity that many people think of when they think of what Sailor Moon is. I think people who have closely read the manga, I think will probably think of Sailor Moon in a different way than people who have their strongest tie to the 90s anime, because the 90s anime really is this more heart driven in a way series, and it emphasizes so many more of the little moments, the human moments, and a lot of that is because of the filler. A lot of the reason you get so much more focus on the other Senshi in the anime is the filler that they get every time they have to power up. It's like, all right, Venus is going to get an episode so that she can get her next stronger attack. And no, Twitch of Spades is absolutely right. It is a far cry from 90s Dragon Ball filler. I think with 90s Dragon Ball, there would be the part of the filler was the fact that they stretched out things just over many episodes that shouldn't have been stretched out. Like I remember one episode that was definitely like the planet Namek will blow up in the next 5 minutes. And there were about 13 minutes left of the episode, and the planet Namek had not blown up in that time. So I was like, we are watching it not just we are watching it in slowed down time, apparently, so that they can have a longer fight sequence. This is not a knock, by the way, on Dragon Ball as a whole, or questioning whether or not Dragon Ball has a lot of heart. I think in many ways it has
Okay.
some of that similar sense of who your main hero is between Goku and Sailor Moon. There is a lot of similar heart-driven characterization there. So I'm not trying to knock Dragon Ball, but that the way that filler works and the purpose that it served in Sailor Moon was different to how it was in Dragon Ball. I definitely think that's spot on. And I think
And we're Toonami people. We watch DBZ and Sailor Moon back to back.
yeah.
We are fans.
But yeah, so I'm not here to beef with Dragon Ball fans in any way, but to say that like the filler hits different in Sailor Moon because of the ways that they made use of that filler to bring you closer to some of the background characters, and it worked.
And I think that's one of the big strengths of the show.
Hard agree. Huge agree.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about this episode? Was there any big Japanese changes?
I don't know that there were any Japanese changes that were worth noting in this episode. I didn't write down a single thing. I think probably the biggest change is the scene with Ray and her grandfather, where he's very upset that she's trying to use their only like wedding robes to make a wedding dress. And he's like, no, you absolutely can't do that. I think that's probably something that they either fully changed or cut down for the deep dub because, again, they have no confidence that the American audience is in any way prepared to be told that other countries wear different wedding outfits. Other cultures, rather, wear different wedding outfits. So they had no faith.
That was
Yeah,
too
too
far
far.
for them. Yeah. All right. So why don't we go to break? Hey, everybody. We're back for the second half of React to Sailor Moon discussion, episode 11 through 15.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you for staying with us this evening. We always appreciate everybody in our Twitch audience. And even if you view it afterwards, it still means a lot to us that you watch our show. Yeah, but the reaction to all 5 episodes, and actually all 15 episodes as of right now, are up on our Patreon. They are up for free. If you would like to join the Patreon, it is an extra $1 and you get it a week early. So you would get our reactions a week early. But it's pretty cool, and I hope you check it out. I'll make sure to link it at the end. Welcome back.
Hi, I have no idea what you just plugged. You could have been plugging anything. You could have been like, we have a new zombie server where we're eating human brain. It's pretty cool. You should check it out.
I plugged our Patreon.
Oh, okay, good. Yes, people should definitely check that out. I have volume 1 here. Act 5 appears to be Makoto. Let's see. Yeah. I don't remember overlaps between this and Makoto's intro. Let's go to page 164. Not that these have page numbers, so I do find it hilarious that they're providing page numbers. You can see Act 5, Makoto, Sailor Jupiter.
Let me make you bigger.
Yeah, you made me smaller. There we go. Act 5, Makoto, Sailor Jupiter. I'm not incorrect.
No.
Let's see. She's having a dream that Usagi's having a dream that she's in a gorgeous dress. Someone's calling for her. She can't see them. It's obviously Mamo's silhouette. She's been having weird dreams. Luna's we got a lot to figure out. Meanwhile, Makoto saves Usagi from getting hit by a car. Oh, okay. So there's a photo of Naru in a wedding dress, says Molly. My cousin's getting married. Bridal shop near the entrance of the shopping district. They've got this fitting area for wedding dresses, and I tried on a few. Everyone wants to go to a wedding ceremony, but the cousin's groom has gone missing, and the cousin is now confined to a bed. He's always busy and comes home at weird hours. June being a June bride is your ticket to a happy marriage, blah, blah, blah. They all want to be a bride. Meanwhile, Makoto is the new transfer student. She's so strong. Everyone's like, yo, why aren't you wearing the right uniform? And what's with your hair? And she's like, naturally wavy. Duh. Bunch of rumors about her. Blah. Let's see if there's more bride stuff. Presumably there is, or they wouldn't have thrown all that in there.
Yeah, like it's very specific.
Lots more about Makoto. She makes friends with Usagi. Amy's like heard a strange rumor on the road coming here. There's a huge bridal shop near the entrance to the shopping district with this mannequin sitting on the windowsill. And Makoto says, I can still picture that mannequin on the balcony looking like she's ready to jump off. Beautiful. I'd love to be a bride. I feel like that's not how, if I had a bridal shop, I don't think I would want my mannequin to look like she was about to jump off a building.
Oh,
That's certainly a choice. And she was like, see, that's the bridal shop. And then someone was like, you mean the bridal shop that's cursed? Sometimes people see it. The bride ghost. Mannequin on the balcony wanders around at night trying to seduce the male passersby. Everyone says so. And if you buy a dress from the shop, you become cursed by the ghost bride and spend your life in misery. Yeah, I don't feel like this is. It's only
distressed.
similar in that it's also about brides. I don't feel like this is particularly close to the plot of the filler episode that we watched, other than again, something brides.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm glad we at least investigated that.
We did. We did. That that was a thing that happened.
Yep. All right. And by the way, as somebody who used to work in bridal alterations, Ray, you're not going to learn to sew on a wedding dress.
Oh no.
I just had to put that in because I'm like, in all my time at the bridal shop, it was hard.
I no. No one is learning to sew on it. Like, I'm a firm believer that, like, it's okay for your first project to be something that isn't a recommended starter project because you're only gonna learn by doing something you're passionate about, but there's a limit to that. And it doesn't mean that the end result will be wearable. Yes, I've definitely done cosplay projects where people would have told me like, "Oh, you can't start with that. That can't be your first thing to make because that's really hard." And I've been like, "Yeah, but if I have to start with the beginner thing that I don't need for any purpose, I'm never going to do any of it." But there's a limit to how far that can stretch. Like there
I just had to put when I was
you are 100% accurate. She is not learning to sew on a wedding dress, nor do I think most people's mom as like at-home sewists could sew a wedding dress of like wearable quality.
genuinely. That would have been asking a lot.
Because I think even in generations where they more commonly knew how to sew, I don't think that means that they knew garment construction.
Agreed.
I'm sure it means that if you ripped a seam, they can sew that or something like that, or hem a dress that's too long. I do not think that they're like patterning, cutting, sewing garments with nice finishes.
I don't know why. I was like on break. I thought of that. And I was
Look,
just like,
we are cosplayers. This is an episode about people sewing shit, and we're going like, no, no.
we'll have to do some kind of get to know us at some point to reveal more about our hobbies and stuff. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
definitely.
I just had to bring that up because that always I was just like, Ray, you're out of his focus.
Yeah, you dream, Ray. You dream.
All right. On to the next episode.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the next episode is called Shutterbugged.
Which is again, that's a great title. You feel exactly what you're in for. The Japanese episode title is Usagi's a Model, the Flash of the Monster Camera. It gets the same information across, but is it as fun as Shutterbugged? I don't
No.
think it's as fun.
Shutterbugged is so cute.
It's cute. It's a cute title.
It's a cute title. Honestly, this is a cute episode.
It is. It's not. I don't find it to be one of the strongest episodes. It's cute though.
All right,
Let's go into the description for this the summary for this episode. Probably won't be as long as some of my other summaries. The we meet in Japanese, his name is Kijin Shinokawa. I don't know what his geek name is because again, I wasn't taking notes while we were watching the geek. We try to focus on them. He's a photography student. He goes to school with Ray. This is the rare episode where we're focusing on a student at Ray's school as opposed to most of the students that get targeted go to Usagi's school. Is Juban? Is it Juban that she
Cuba.
goes to in her? Yeah. So yeah, at Juban is where most of the targetings happen, but this is a student from Ray's school. He is a photography student. He recently won a photo contest. He has the weirdest hair and like it sticks out to the sides in pointy sort of flame shapes, but is also black in the middle, but red at the tips. It's something.
It's a
Um,
point. It
is many choices, many specific, multiple choices were made in the course of achieving that hair.
What was the Japanese title?
Usagi's a model, the flash of the monster camera.
Got it. Thank you. I'm just pulling.
Yep.
Two.
Usagi hears about this photography student who's won a contest and they're doing newspaper pieces about him and she wants an autograph. But Ray's, no, go away. Leave him alone. Stop being such a little paparazzi. Paparazzo. The next cut is we see the photography kid hanging out on the side of a highway over a cliff overhanging like the sea. And he's just perched on the cliff, like taking photos of the sunset. And then he just starts like sliding down the cliff, but he's about to plummet into the water and then Maxfield Stanton just appears out of nowhere and saves him and pulls him up and imbues his camera with nega energy and is like, keep doing your photos, kid, and then disappears. Can we pause and note how convenient he was just at the moment that this boy was falling from the cliff? Do we think he just naturally was falling from the cliff and Nephrite happened to be there at that moment for his evil scheme? Or do we think maybe Nephrite gave the dirt a little nudge and then was like, "Aha, I saved you. I'm just your everyday rich CEO."
I think it's that one.
I think it was that one too, because they just needlessly had the kid almost die. Um,
What kind of like nations there? Neprite had been like 5 minutes late getting coffee with the kid of right.
Kid would have died and this episode just never would have happened. Just would have been a tragedy in their lives that like Usagi was like, "Oh, I was just trying to get his autograph yesterday," and then today he died falling off of a cliff taking a picture of the sunset. Just as usual with these episodes, right after Nephrite has imbued someone with something, suddenly there's a contest. So this time, there's now a modeling contest with bathing suits, and this young boy is gonna choose his muse or whatever from all the models, can take pictures of all of them in their swimsuits, and everyone's auditioning to become his model. Naturally, Serena wants to do it. She's like, "I wanna be in the contest. I wanna be a model. I'd be such a great model." And Luna's, "Hirosagi, I made you this new communicator that you can use to video chat with your friends about scout business." And Usagi immediately calls Amy and is like, "Amy, I'm gonna be in a modeling contest." And Amy's like, "Luna, you should be using this for Senshi communications only. This is very important." Sorry, this is very important because she over enunciates. And so
Sorry.
let's see. Meanwhile, Sammy makes fun of her and is like, "Why would anyone want you for a model? Who would ever want you to model for them? Blah blah blah." And she's like, "Mom, Sammy's being so mean to me." And Ikuko Mama's, "I don't know that he said anything that wasn't true." And she was like, "Wow, everyone in this family is so mean." Blah blah blah. So then she's at the arcade and she's like talking to Andrew about it. And because he is, as always, only
The
green flags.
green flags.
Yep. I don't think you should give up no matter what people say. I think it's important to try things and to put yourself out there. And I think it's great that you always believe in yourself out of fucking nowhere. Not invited to this conversation at all. Darian, who is sitting nearby at one of the arcade machines, pops up to have an unasked for asshole opinion and just tells her that, like, you're not pretty enough to be a model, like, you suck, you shouldn't do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, just is mean for no reason, like, basically telling her she's shallow and people that want their picture taken are shallow and blah, blah, blah. Like, he just, no one asked for his opinion, but he decided to show his whole asshole. Just,
Do you remember what he does in the dub?
I'm pretty sure it's similar. Like,
He
I'm pretty sure.
brags about being a model himself.
Oh my god, does he?
He does.
No.
He's, "No, modeling is a lot of work, and you have to do this and that, and I would know, I modeled some in college," and I'm acts so
This son
condescending.
of a bitch.
It's even worse in English to
He's
me.
ugh, he's just awful. He's just awful. Watch it on Patreon. You'll be able to see the English version. He's wretched in every version, and no one asked him to join this conversation. He was not invited to it. No one solicited his opinion. He just my mother always raised me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. All right, Usagi gets accepted to the contest. It's implied that sort of everyone got accepted to the contest, but she's still excited. She shows up. They're bring swimsuits. She brings a swimsuit. The problem is that her swimsuit has been like eaten by moths. So she puts a bunch of big yellow bows over the holes. This actually is her iconic swimsuit.
It's
I
so
think it's
iconic.
super cute. Like, obviously, it's not a fashion that most grown women would wear because it's covered in giant bows, but it is adorable. And she's 14. Um,
Like, remember, she is 14.
yeah,
This
she's
is
a
age
look at it.
appropriate.
It's adorable. It's adorable, that outfit. And frankly, I think that was a very clever solution to her problem. No one else is
Hmm,
supporting her or helping her out. She problem solved. Her only swimsuit had holes in it. Put some bows.
it's so
Yep. So they're getting ready. There's some fat phobic exchanges between Molly and Miss Haruna, who are both worried about gaining weight. So yeah, skip that. The photographer is taking pictures of people in groups of like 3 or 4, and every time he takes a picture of them with his camera, it like disappears them. Um, Usagi and Luna notice this. Usagi calls for backup using her new communicator. Everyone else gets disappeared. Usagi once again does a speech before transforming. So, this is another example where no one thought about protecting their secret identity. She kicks the camera away with an attack that in Japanese I believe is called Sailor Moon kick. The Yoma appears. It has, for me, one of the most unpleasant designs I've ever seen because it's got these giant bone shoulders. The bone underneath is this big and this long, and the skin is stretched over it, and it's creep. Do not want. But anyway, Luna gets in the way, and it zaps Luna, and Luna disappears and gets trapped in a photograph. Mars and Mercury show up, and they're like, "We're here to help you, Sailor Moon." And then the camera zaps them, and they disappear into a photograph. And Sailor Moon is obviously getting more traumatized and more scared by this because everyone she cares about is just being poofed into nothingness. And she gets backed up against like a giant window that's so reflective that it's basically functioning as a mirror. And as she's frightened and pulling away, she catches sight of her own reflection in the mirror, in the window behind her. And she realizes that if she can't harm the Yoma, maybe the Yoma can harm itself. She jumps away at the precise moment so that the Yoma takes a picture of its own reflection, which causes it to melt itself, which stuns it. Then she uses Moon Tiara magic to kill the yada yada. Everybody's brought back. The photographer's, wow, this was a real learning experience for me. I need to focus on myself, something. Zoisite mocks Nephrite for once again fucking it up, and Nephrite's like, okay, but aren't you supposed to be finding the silver crystal? And you clearly also haven't done that, so who also sucks? So just more bickering between Zoisite and Nephrite. That's the episode.
I like it. I
I
think it's a good
do.
episode.
I don't think it's a strong
Stellar.
episode. Like, this isn't one that I personally would go out of my way to recommend. I think it's skippable. I don't think it's painfully boring to watch. I like that again, it's an episode where Sailor Moon is clever and solves a problem on her own through like her own guts and quick thinking, which is not appreciated enough about her. I think because she's seen as, oh, yes, Sailor Moon is the power of love crybaby. The episode that we're talking about, to answer your question, which episode of the week is it's the Japanese
Let me
name,
pull it up.
yep,
Sorry.
Shutterbugs,
Shutterbugs.
which is episode 14 in the Deep Dub. In the Japanese, this is going to be episode 17. Usagi's a model, the flash of the monster camera. The episode where there's a modeling contest with the swimsuits, with pink swimsuit with the yellow bows on it. It's that episode. I
And it's good to see you.
I don't it's not a bad episode. It doesn't wow me. I think because there's no particular through line to the person who gets yomified. There's no even though this is a person that Ray knows, there's no sense that Ray has any emotional connection to what's going on. She never particularly is impassioned about that. Yes, yeah, as I noted earlier, yes, this
Yes.
one has some
Yes.
just casually chucks in some fat phobia. I which again to me is another reason why this is not recommend this one.
Yeah. I think I like oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's one of the ones that's like a fun Usagi episode, but I don't think that the Yoma and NPC plot is engaging for me because I didn't give a shit about this boy with the weird hair.
Oh, I forgot. I love his catchphrase. Art is an explosion. Or art is a bomb. It was one of those. I was just like, oh, that's funny. Some fun
Yeah.
trivia. So this is weird. So we're going back into the age of VHSs for
Ooh,
this
okay.
trivia. This is the only Nephrite episode that made it onto the 6 VHSs, each containing 2 episodes. Yes, you paid $19.99
Oh, those
basically
were
for
the
2
days.
episodes.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. But one of the VHSs contained the first 2 episodes, one contained the last 2, one contained Mercury and Mars's first appearance, and one contained Jupiter and Venus's first appearance, and one contained the 2-part A Crystal Clear Destiny and a Reluctant Princess. So what a wild batch of
They
episodes
really
that
trimmed.
is.
Like, it's so funny that they really trimmed, but somehow this got in there, and this was the only like, if you just watched the VHSs, for one episode, there was Nephrite, and then he was gone again.
Yeah. So it would be like, who's this dude with the
Right?
cute long hair?
Who knows? Bye.
Oh no, genuinely, who picked them? I want to have
I
a talk.
seriously.
And the other fun fact is the Nega Monster was not given an official English name, and only reference of this name was in the Sailor Moon collectible
Oh,
card game.
interesting. I think in the Japanese, it was something like camera on, like cameraman, but without maybe the letter M. But always interesting when they don't give them an English name, and I guess didn't come up.
Oh, and do you want to hear the international titles
Yes,
for this episode? Because
absolutely.
they're wild too. All right, so the Brazilian Portuguese was Serena. Oh, that's cool. She was also named Serena in
Nice.
the Brazilian. I didn't know that. Serena Modelo. Oh, wait, where's the English translation? I was like, do not, I do not speak Portuguese. Serena Model, the Malignants become photographers. The European Portuguese was Will Bunny be a model? The European Spanish was I'm a model. The French, once again, 2 titles. The TV was the video images.
They did not try. There was no
We don't-
video in this. Uh,
There was no video. And then for the DVD, they changed it to Usagi modeled the shocked photos of the
which
demon
again is
device.
just a really weird attempt to be aggressively literal with the translation of the Japanese title.
Yeah, and then the German was the photo model, and the Italian was
All
posing.
posing. I don't know how they came up with that, but I like it. It's different.
Again, it's a very
I think of those,
strange.
will Bunny be a model or will I don't know if it was Will Usagi be a model or what, but I think that one was decent. Was it as good as Shutterbugged? No, it was not. Like that Shutterbugged is
Shutterbug is
that was
so
a
cute.
top tier Deke title. But but yeah.
So we're not recommending them?
This isn't I'm not gonna say this is one where I'm like, skip it. There are a few that are like that, but I'm not putting it in my recommend category. You can put it in yours. We don't have to universally agree.
No, and it's I like the campiness of
Mhm.
this episode. I like the plot. I think it's a fun plot, but I hate the
Just could have and the thing is it wasn't a plot element, it didn't need to be there. It
no,
just was thrown
it
in.
had no reason. And then Uda coming in saying that Deep Dub was very 80s, trying to be
So
90s. It
true.
was
So
weird. Wrong.
you are so correct.
Oh my gosh. All right. And then we'll go to the final
Yep.
episode of the night, right? What episode is it? Oh, 15. Called Dangerous
Dangerous
Dollies.
Dollies. Ooh, how sassy. In Japanese, episode
I
18,
like
this is
it.
called Shingo's Love, the Grieving Doll.
Okay.
All right, so I think the opening of this episode is a Negaverse scene where Zoisite is like offering to help Nephrite. Zoisite's, oh, Nephrite, but why don't we just team up? Think of how well that would go if we just teamed up and worked together. And Barrel's, that's not a bad idea. This okay. These are my notes from the Japanese version. So this scene might have played differently in the Deke version. And Nephrite is absolutely not. I refuse. I'm not doing this for Beryl. I'm doing this for myself. And then he just disappears. Beryl is pissed about that. Pissed. And then Zoocyte in his head, in the Japanese, is like, "This is working out exactly how I wanted. Now I'm driving a wedge between Nephrite and Beryl, and they won't rely on each other, and Beryl won't look to him for support. This is excellent. This is all working out the way I schemed." I was like, "Zoocyte, you conniving motherfucker." There's no reason that Zoocyte needed to be against Nephrite. He was. He just
They don't think they're in the
I
manga, do
don't
they?
know. I don't think so. I think that is a thing that they just added for because I don't think they live long enough to interact in the manga. Most of I wanna say the Shitano are probably all dead by act 6 because I think it's like Jedi shows up and dies. Like, I think they more or less each show up and die within 1 act. So I don't know that Zoisite and Nephrite interact. I don't remember that being the case. So I think this is a thing they specifically added for the dub was this like jockeying for position between Nephrite and Zoisite, where Zoisite just needlessly was like, I want Nephrite out of the way. I want to be the head bitch. But it's great. Again, I think it's like a really fun addition to the 90s anime is to have all of these internecine politics and the infighting among the enemies. I think it's a lot of fun. And I think you obviously then see it be something that recurs in later seasons with other villains who are also in competition with each other. I love it every time it happens. I think it adds a little bit of spice to what's going on with the villains. So yeah, after that little interaction, meanwhile in the human world, Sammy, Shingo in Japanese, Sammy's friend Mika wins a doll making contest, which is apparently a thing that at least in this episode exists. This is a little girl, she's probably like 9 and she's making her own beautiful French porcelain dolls and winning contests with them.
They're like, look at these. They're like
Look
so
look at that, and look at
intricate.
that's Mika on the right with 2 of the dolls that she's made. So you can see how young this child is that's making these prize-winning porcelain dolls, as you do. Now her mother also makes them, so it's somewhat more of a it is obviously more likely when a child has, um, a vocation that early, it is usually because their parent also did and they learned from them, so it makes a little bit more sense in that respect, but still, fucking weird hobby for a kid. Just real weird. But anyway, she makes this award-winning doll. The next scene, Sammy's 2 of Sammy's and Mika's friends, 2 other little girls, come and find Serena when she and Molly are, like, walking home from school to tell on Sammy, to say, "Hey, Sammy was really mean to his friend Mika. She gave him this doll that she made that she'd worked on really hard, and then his friends were, like, making fun of him for playing with dolls the minute she handed it to him, and so he pushed it back to her and was like, 'I don't want a doll,' and it fell on the ground and it, like, shattered, and, like, he Mika obviously was just completely crushed by this rejection. Serena's, "Don't you worry, girls, I'll handle this." I love that girl solidarity of the little girls being like, "We'll tell his older sister. She'll get this squared away." That's a nice I
It's so
like
cute.
that as a scene of a sibling interaction, a sort of a sibling relationship where you can go to someone's family member and have them step in and have that older sibling relationship of being the pseudo disciplinarian in the way that that sometimes is the case. Meanwhile, Nephrite as Maxfield Stanton, the super rich CEO, visits the house of Mika and her mother and is, wow, I've never seen such beautiful dolls outside of France. And you make such beautiful dolls. And she's like, my daughter makes beautiful dolls too. And he's like, yes, I heard she just won a contest. I would love to see your doll. And she's, I'll show you the doll she's working on now. And the doll she's working on now looks like super depressed because Mika is super depressed. And he's, wow, the expression of sorrow is so moving. And then he imbues the doll with nega energy and he's like, this is so incredible. Can you make 10 more dolls as soon as possible? I know I can sell them. And the mom is, I have an exhibition on Saturday. And so she'll make the dolls for that. Yes, she's just commissioned her daughter to make 10 porcelain dolls by Saturday. I don't care what day of the week this is. That's not enough time. This child is in school. So Sammy went to her house to try to apologize because Usagi yelled at him too, and he got yelled off. And Mika also shoved her mom. This is again one of those episodes where the person becomes super hyper focused on the thing that's been mega cursed and starts being harmful and mean to everyone around them who tries to be like, whoa, be normal, eat a sandwich.
Yeah. Real quick though, the
Oh,
animation
the
is so good.
animation is it'll fuck you up in this episode. Like if you are a person who has any issues with creepy dolls, skip this episode. 100% skip this
Yeah.
episode. If you're a person who thinks you could become someone with a problem with creepy dolls, skip this episode. Skip it.
Skip this episode.
Yep, the animation is beautiful and creepy. Usagi's feeling very suspicious that this isn't right, but it's like maybe Negaverse not right. And the girls go to investigate the doll show. Meanwhile, she's also like, I'll help you, Sammy. I'll help you apologize to your friend. You should make her something precious too. So Sammy's like, I know exactly what I'll do. I'll make a Sailor Moon doll. He makes the ugliest Sailor Moon doll. It looks like a melting mushroom troll, and it's completely heartfelt. It's incredibly sweet. He makes it for her. Sailor Usagi's she's really gonna love this mushroom girl. And he's like, Sailor Moon. And he's like, Sailor Moon would love it because she's the hero of love and justice. I think it's great. Very sweet. Meanwhile, Ray has decided to take Darian on a date to the doll show. He is very clearly bored as shit. She's like, isn't this neat?
And
These
then
dolls are beautiful. And he's like, I don't really know anything about dolls, but okay. Like, could not be more bored. This is another episode where you're like, why are they dating? He doesn't seem to enjoy her company or be interested in her in any way. It
it feels so
feels
forced.
aggressively forced. It's so uncomfortable. There's a there's what I think is probably the most interesting moment in this episode. He's at the doll show. He walks past and rubs shoulders with Maxfield Stan, who's Nephrite. And they have this fucking moment where they each are like just shooketh at holy shit, who is that? What is that vibe I just got now? It's just a silent moment with this very blue camera toning where they are both, what the fuck just happened here?
Me
And
too.
I know. Maxfield says, sorry, I mistook you for someone else. And then they move on. This is one of the few in the entire Deke series, one of the few interactions between Endymion and one of his generals. I would have loved more of this. I would have loved to see more connection between Tuxedo Mask and the Shitano. Like we got this crumb. I was like, I felt something when it happened. I was like, oh, holy shit. He's experiencing that cognition. It's all the stronger because obviously Sailor Moon and Luna, like Luna tends to get a sense when someone is a senshi. She's like, I feel something about this girl. But Darian is getting the sense himself, and it makes all the more sense because one of his powers in the manga is psychometry, which never explicitly spelled out in the anime, but he does things that are psychometry. The fact that he like brushes shoulders with Nephrite and has this reaction is so suited to him magically. And I was like, I so wish that we got more out of that and that went somewhere. Because, like it was such an exciting moment.
And it's one of those, it's we didn't even really get it in Crystal. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, to see this, I'm like, we're so close to getting this is what we live for as fans.
Yes. This is the shit we want explored and built on. And it was like, oh, they gave us a taste, and they will never give us the meal. But we got a taste. It was a single incredibly exciting moment and then is never followed up on. So also at the exhibition is Sammy. As you will recall, his Japanese name is Shingo. He's wearing a baseball hat that says Shingo on it. Just thought I would note that he's wearing a baseball cap that cap that has his own name on it, real big letters. He, with Usagi along with him, tries to give the doll he made to Mika, but before he can do that, her evil doll turns into a Yoma, which is a different but equally creepy doll, and attacks him, knocks Sammy out. Usagi immediately transforms. She is very pissed that a Yoma just knocked out her brother, but also notably very terrified of these very the creepy dolls. She's just very frightened of them. Valid. She runs out a window. Mercury and Mars appear. More creepy dolls attack them. Mars exercises them. And then the main Yoma doll is like choking Sailor Moon. Mars just fucking lights it on fire, nearly lighting Sailor Moon on fire. Sailor Moon is going, oh, hot. Because in classic Mars fashion, she's just burn it all down, figure it out later.
That's pretty much her motto in the 90s.
Compare it with a previous episode, the other Sammy episode, which I think was the pet shop episode, where Luna was like, "Use your tiara magic," and Usagi was like, and Sailor Moon was like, "No, my brother's there. Oh my god!" Compare that with Mars, who's just like Mars Fire Ignite.
God.
Mercury uses her supercomputer to identify that the Yoma's weakness is, for some reason, its ankle. She Moon Tiara magics the ankle. Sailor Moon appears in a window and tells Mika and Sammy to always be friends and watch out for each other. Mika and Sammy wake up. They're friends now. And at the end of the episode, Mika makes Sammy a much better Sailor Moon doll than the Sailor Moon doll that he made for her, which a cute ending. A solid, cute episode.
A little
It
bit of
had
characterization for Sammy.
Yep. Yeah, this was it was nice to see another good Sammy characterization. He will continue throughout the series to just occasionally get random characterization episodes with one of his little friends. It's nice that he doesn't fully cease to exist. But yeah, he you get to see these episodes where he's sometimes a slightly immature little boy who a lot of his friends are girls and he a lot of times struggles to keep up with them emotionally in the ways that I think that toxic masculinity can tend to push boys to be more emotionally avoidant or act in ways that are more emotionally immature. This is not a holistic statement. This is not it's not a generalization. This is just the notion that because boys are pushed more, you see it in this episode where she gave him a doll. He was pretty enthused about the doll, but then other boys bullied him for it. And so he felt like he wasn't allowed to the doll. But through the course of the episode, he eventually in trying to apologize to her makes her a doll, an ugly doll that he knew was ugly, and he was being very vulnerable in giving her something that he knew was nowhere near anything as good as what he could create, but that the gesture was important. And I think it's nice to see those little explorations with him because we don't have a lot of male characters that are front and center, much less male characters that are like learning valuable lessons. So it's nice to see that while we get so many episodes where female characters go through growth and maturing, we have these vignettes into Sammy, who also gets to grow and mature. Yeah, I think it's nice to see a little characterization for him.
Would you recommend this episode?
I think on balance, I would. I don't. It's not aggressively strong recommend in the way that there are some where I'm like, oh, this is a gem. You should watch it. But I think this is a good one that has a lot of nice moments and nice ideas in it. I think again, it's nice to see episodes that focus on Usagi's civilian relationships. I liked the moment with Nephrite and Darien. I thought that was a reasonably well integrated Yoma plot with civilian plot. They both were the same plot. I didn't think again, this is another one where it's you could have cut the entire Ray Darien dating plot out of the show and it would have been better for it. And this
Oh,
is, if
100%.
anything, an example of that. It just feels awkward anytime. Oh, let's have a scene where Ray and Darien are on a bad date together again. But and you got that scheming by Zoisite and Nephrite at the beginning, which I also think was like a nice. It's nice to see those little nega bits. So yeah, I think on balance, I would recommend this one, just not as strongly as I recommend some of the ones that like touch my heart.
I get that. That's the way it works. A couple fun trivia. So apparently the English dub heavily edited the battle between Sailor Moon and the Yoma in order to attempt to remove all scenes of the Yoma strangling Sailor Moon.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess in the Deke version, you don't see the Yoma strangling Sailor Moon and then Bars lighting the Yoma on fire and nearly lighting Sailor Moon on fire.
Yeah, because I was trying to remember that and I was like, I don't remember that at all.
Yep, if you want to see that, it's on Viz Media's YouTube channel. The all of the episodes in the first two seasons are on Viz Media's YouTube channel for free in the subtitled version.
So recommend that. This is also Tracy Moore returns to Boy Sailor Moon this episode. And this is Mika's first and only appearance in the 90s English dub, as the episode which she first appeared was cut from the original.
Oh, she must have. Oh, she was in the pet shop episode then.
Yeah, which I don't think was dubbed.
It was not. They cut that one, I think, because there were too many scenes of Shingo slapping Usagi and kicking Luna and things like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
there were that's why we think that one was cut.
which understandable. Let me see. And just the only other fun trivia was that this scene from episode where Sailor Moon's behind a curtain is used in the opening.
Yes, yes, it is. It's one of those visually iconic behind the fluttering curtain, and this is the episode that's from.
And it's so good.
It's a beautiful shot that you would think was drawn for the opening. That's how on its own it is, but it wasn't. It's very much not in the original Japanese opening. It was just from this episode.
It's really interesting the changes that they decide to make.
Yeah, I you always wish that you could interview someone who worked on the Deke adaptation back in the 90s. But one, how would you find them other
Space.
than like looking through the credits and yeah, MySpace, like our boy Bob.
We love you,
But
Bob.
two, I'm not gonna remember. The amount of stuff we wonder about versus the amount of stuff that they would probably remember. I'm trying to think if someone asked me questions about a project that I worked on at work 15 years ago, I probably wouldn't be able to remember anything intricate and detailed.
Yeah. No,
So,
but it's a cute episode. It's a Sammy episode. It's more
yep,
Sammy's episode than Usagi's episode.
agreed. Absolutely agree. But she's a good sister to him in this episode. It's nice.
Yeah, it's a cute watch. It's we're in that kind of filler phase right now of season 1, I think.
Yeah, and we're in one of the longer filler phases. There's a long period of episodes between when we like of it just being Moon, Mercury, and Mars. They decided to have that be a long thing, and it's reflected in the Japanese opening in that a lot of the scenes in the original Japanese opening animation are specifically just Moon, Mercury, and Mars walking through different areas and being there. The original opening for the Japanese version does not have Jupiter and Venus in it. But in the Deke version, they are all in there from the beginning, so obviously they splice a lot more together. But any of the scenes you see in there, like the scene where Moon, Mercury, and Mars float by and they chuck the curtains, the like colored veils away, and there's only the three of them, that was a scene that's from the original opening, where there's a lot of that, just the three of them walking around being soldiers. So there's definitely that we're in a long filler phase where it's going to be a while before we get Jupiter.
Yeah, which is wild to think of because Mercury and Mars came so quick.
Yeah, yeah, right away.
But I don't know. I enjoyed this episode. I probably would skip it.
It's skippable. I don't like it's decent, but I don't you could easily skip it and not miss out, especially if you were like, there's too many Moon, Mercury, Mars episodes. I want to trim that down. You could trim this one.
Yeah, I agree. All right. We finished a little early tonight.
We did. Please enjoy my dog nesting in the background. He
Oh,
will push the blankets around with his nose until he gets them how he wants them, and then he will circle, and then he will plop. It's very
what?
cute.
Why is your child so cute? Mine's a little demon.
Because he doesn't eat geckos. We don't have geckos around here.
Welcome to Florida.
There he goes. He plopped. You're so
What a
boy.
cutie. But yeah. All right. But that was episodes 11 through 15. Monica will be back with us for the
Yep.
next round. And Monica was in the reactions. There was just a little something that came up tonight. So it was Relia and myself.
Yep. But yeah, if you watch on Patreon, the full episode reactions, you will get to see the three of us giving our commentary together.
But we enjoyed these. We had a lot of fun, shook a lot of heads.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So with that, we come to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us for the third episode of the React series. As always, our fellow Moonies, check us out on our socials and follow us to find out the next time we're going live, which will be next month. You can follow on Eternal Mooncast, on our Instagram, where I update all the time, and our TikTok, which I do episode previews for the podcast. And then, of course, this episode will be up on YouTube in 2 weeks. But yeah, you can find it. And then Eternal Mooncast next stream will be on April 20th. And the topic of the night will actually be Sailor Mars. and our guest will be Chiara. But I have been your okay. No, wait, that's Monica's. All right, you go before I mess it up anymore.
I've been your co-host Relia. If you like what I do and you want to follow me on social media, you can find my most active socials popping up on the screen below. If you want to follow my cosplay adventures, you can find me on Instagram at Relia Lacadaemon. If you want to follow my artwork, I'm on Twitter at Shazari, on Tumblr at Art Crystals, and on Blue Sky as Relia. Thank you as always for supporting the show, and stay tuned to find out when we're going live next month for our episodes 16 through 20.
So as always, I've been your host, Michi. You can find my personal socials, which I always forget. Personal socials at MEW21 across the web, some underscore cosplay, some with cosplay. For our parent show, Eternal Mooncast, you can find previous episodes of our show on YouTube. We appreciate any likes, comments, follows, or however you would like to support the show in your own way. We'll try as a quick reminder, these are just our personal opinions, and we celebrate all respectful Mooney opinions here. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all the support that the React channel has gotten, and we're really excited to keep going for all 200 episodes.
Heck yeah, I'm in. I'm in. I will keep going as long as there's more Sailor Moon for me to have opinions on.
Oh, and we should do the movies too.
Oh, we will. We will do the movies. I know that you've done Eternal Mooncast episodes on the movies, but I wasn't on them. Therefore, I still have thoughts.
No, and I know Monica has a ton of thoughts on it too. So I'm like, all right, we're going back.
We're doing it. We will absolutely do it. I love the movies. I absolutely love them.
Oh, I ship Tux and his boyfriend so hard.
Oh,
All right, everybody. But we appreciate you all. We love you all. Have a wonderful night. Bye.